Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now May 31st of 2023, and given that we have a full slate of Star Wars projects that will be announced just on the horizon at D23, which by the way takes place this September, we got people like Bob Iger, George Lucas, John, and Dave really stepping on board to make those announcements. It's going to be a very special event, so make sure not to miss it. But what's interesting about all of this is exactly what is happening behind closed doors that's going to become, of course, the lead up to what's going on over at Disney in an attempt to really course correct the Star Wars franchise. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And without wasting too much of your time, let's get right into exactly what's going on with, of course, some of the upcoming Star Wars material. Now, one thing that is very intriguing has a lot to do with what Disney is actually preparing to do in order to adapt Legends into live-action material properly, and one of which has a lot to do with the Old Republic era, something that a lot of fans have never really heard about. You know, more or less the casual fans have not really invested their time into these specific, points in time. So basically Disney wants to boost the familiarity of this point in time in the Star Wars universe by exploring this into live-action Star Wars movies. You guys may have recalled that at Celebration, they showed you a full timeline about what the live-action and animated projects are going to consist around, and a lot of it had to do with Dawn of the Jedi, the Old Republic, and everything related to the full timeline of Star Wars. Now, on top of this, with Jon Favreau recently talking more directly to the fandom and beginning to work heavily on Mando Season 4, the Old Republic movies are currently moving along very well into development that will be announced later this year. One big casting update that Disney is forming in the addition of actress Margot Robbie to become a part of the Star Wars franchise, as well as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, since the Old Republic film is planned to be a very large and wide-scale movie, with, of course, a lot of inspiration from Lord of the Rings, Margot and her agent have already met up and held conversations with Disney as they are looking to fulfill one of the villains in the first film for Robbie to take over. Now, currently, it's unclear who Robbie is aimed to portray in the Old Republic movie, but it is described to be a well-established from character, of course, Legends, that will be adapted into live-action form. This role is said to be a part of one of the main leads in the movie that they get, of course, and are hoping to get Matt Reeves to become the main writer of the movie if he's not too busy with the Batman sequel, and preparing for that, of course, with the help of John and Dave. Now, let me just stop here quick. I think that this is a great casting choice. I'm not quite sure who she would even play in the Star Wars universe, let alone in the Old Republic, but I think that she's a talented actress. By the way, when you look at Margot, she is in the talks with Disney to get into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. I have no idea exactly where she's going to lead up with that, but what they are trying to get her on board with for Star Wars is this main villain role in the Old Republic. Now remember that the Old Republic movies are intended to be wide-scale movies. They want to make it to the point where it's going to have a lot of characters, it's going to have a lot of galaxy trotting, as I like to call it. I mentioned this in my last video, where we go from planet to planet, environment to environment, and it's going to have plenty of that in the upcoming Old Republic films that are going to be formed as a trilogy. That's the game plan right now by Disney. Now, the other thing is that additionally, the character aimed for Margot is described to have an intense origin story that will grow into an intimidating role to be presented to the audience. Now, I could see why some fans are not going to like this 100%, because they look at Margot and all they think about is a lot of movies out there, such as The Suicide Squad, such as, of course, when you look at other films that she has done, she has done a lot of big-time blockbuster hits. I mean, she's been in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, she's been in plenty of movies that puts her in that A-list, basically status. And that's what they're trying to obtain with the Old Republic, mixing in both A-list actors with unknown actors to kind of create a very interesting balance. And it's nothing too new. I mean, if you look at The Phantom Menace, back then, Liam Neeson was pretty well known. I don't know if you would call him an A-list back then, I'm not quite sure, but he was a well-known guy back then. They got him on board of Star Wars, so that worked too, by incorporating unknowns with him as well. Now, separate from this, of course, other development with actor Hayden Christensen he's getting involved in a big scene that Jon and Dave are creating already for the second season of Ahsoka. This is described to be yet again another Clone Wars era flashback where a younger version of Ahsoka will be featured in the sequence fighting alongside Hayden's Anakin in Clone Wars armor against an army of droids. Now, this version of Ahsoka is planned to be portrayed by a younger actress, much like how they plan to do in the upcoming Season 1 of Ahsoka. Jon and Dave are said to be introducing never-before-seen droids into the flashback to create some new elements for fans to see, as well as callback droids from Attack of the Clones. Anakin's Clone Wars armor here, via the storyboard descriptions, is described to be battle damage from blaster fire, where an Ahsoka Tano appearance is of course seen hiding behind Anakin, where Anakin is using himself basically as a guard to guard Ahsoka Tano as a shield as he protects her from the blaster fire. Now, what's interesting about this, guys, is that we do know that Jon and Dave really talked about this several times, that they always want to find a way to essentially kind of incorporate either Clone Wars flashbacks or flashbacks to Order 66 in many of their upcoming Star Wars shows. And you know what? I like that format, I will be honest. I love the format of kind of continuing the story in bits and pieces where we go back and forth, and they did that somewhat by Joby Harold in the Kenobi series, where we got to see Anakin and Kenobi training, but it's going to go beyond that. Jon and Dave are going to finally give us their iteration of Clone Wars Anakin, and they want to do it the right way, where they want to really give fans to the point where he's actually fighting droids on the battlefield, protecting Ahsoka. Ahsoka's protecting herself as well. I think it's a great addition. I mean, who doesn't love Hayden, as Anakin Skywalker in Clone Wars armor? I mean, it's something that we have never seen yet. It was something that, by the way, yes, was supposed to be in the Kenobi series that got canceled by Kathleen Kennedy. She didn't want to overuse the flashbacks of Anakin, so she wanted to keep it strictly as a sparring session between himself and Kenobi. Overall, I'm not quite sure how the fans are going to react to a younger actress portraying Ahsoka Tano. That's another big thing. Is that going to work? Is that not going to work? Well, we're going to find out this August into September, because Jon and Dave did do that for the first season. Alright, I won't go into specifics for spoilers, but there is a moment in the first season of Ahsoka that, yes, actually gives us a younger version of Ahsoka Tano, played by a different actress this time around. So you're not going to have Rosario Dawson playing the younger version of that character, it's somebody else, and it's very likely to be a flashback-based type of thing. So anyways, I think that between what they are trying to do with the OR trilogy and the OR time period and Hayden is brilliant stuff, and I would love to hear your opinion on all of this. So drop a comment below, guys. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.